All right, guys, here's the last one. This is also super interesting. It's comparing the Apex 300K that we just looked at in part 2 to the Apex 50K. So this is the Apex 50K we're looking at. Risking one account per trade, just treating it like a trade, right? Again, we're saying 10 trades in a week. That's kind of what I take on the live stream, 2 trades per day, maybe on average. And, you know, if you're risking, so in the previous example, I said if you risked, you know, 150 per trade on your own account, then you could as well risk 300 a day on prop firms, right? So in this video here, I've only got this set very basically at 250,000 Apex accounts, right? And you can see that's a lot cheaper. So this is how you would risk less if you wanted to and still have great payouts. But if you wanted to still keep the example from the previous video where you're risking 300 a day like you would on your normal, let's say $5,000 trading account, then obviously here with the 80% off here, instead of doing, you know, if you were to do 2 trades per day, instead of having one 50K account on each trade, you know, you could multiply the cost here, you know, basically $60 to get that up to $300. You could multiply that by 5. So you could do, you would basically have 5 accounts on 5 50K accounts on each you know, trade that you take. If you're risking 150 per trade roughly, right, you'd risk 5 separate 50K accounts per trade. Okay, so if you risk 5, so this is if you want to like just keep it simple and don't spend a lot, this is how the model works, right? And this you can see the numbers here, right? So basically you could end up making with this model with pretty low risk about 5K a month with these 50K accounts. And this would basically be like on a cost per week here of $750. And if you had a horrible week and just failed, if you're taking 2 trades a day and you're risking one full 50K account per trade, you know, and you had you wouldn't do the reset in this case, right? You would just do the, because this is cheaper. So I even did the 70% off, which is more expensive. So 10 in a row, you know, you lose 500 for the week. I mean, that's not really bad. Like if you've got a bad trading week on your own $5,000 account or whatever you're using, you know, losing 500, that happens, right? So in this, you get a potentially lot more upside for the risk you're taking. The thing is, with the 50K, you're probably not going to be able to hold them as long. That's the one thing I like about the 300K, is that you can hold them a lot longer because of the way you're leaving cushion once you get the payout. And the reset makes a lot more sense on the 300K. But then again, you've got to hit that higher target. Now I got to run the numbers on, you know, how you would pretty easily hit the higher target on the 300K, because you got to make 3 to 1, right? Versus on the 50K, you only need to make 1 to 1. So you'd probably pass more of these 50Ks, I'm guessing. So if you were to basically take these numbers, right, and multiply this by 5, if you want to keep the same risk from the previous video, if you multiply that by 5, you'll have probably a little bit more in terms of activation fee, but it's not going to make a difference. And you can multiply this potentially, right, by 5. And I said you only get one of the accounts, by the way, one of these 50K accounts to a $2,000 payout, right? Because you're not going to have lots of cushion, only $600. And let's say you blow it, right? So this is the numbers, you know, just doing this on the 50K, only getting basically for every 10 accounts you take, you're only getting 1 to pay out. But if you can do that per week, you know, you can make about $5,000 a month, right? And even if you only did it like once every 10 days, because they don't always have the 1 day to pass thing, let's say that this goes down to $3,500 a month. Still, that's pretty damn good for the risk you're taking if you approach it in this way. Now let's just finish off here with the fact that you take similar risk. $300 per day is your risk, right? So then you do 5. You're risking, well, it depends here. So like if you've got the let's say you got the 70% off, right? Which is 50, which they're not going to really go much lower than that because they got to compete with Top Step. So let's say you got 50, then you got 6 of these 50K accounts per day. So you could risk 3 of them, right, per trade that you're taking. You're going to, you know, be apples to apples. If you're risking 3 of those per trade, you know, I feel like these numbers here could go up. Instead of you're going to have a lot more accounts. So instead of getting 1 to pay out, you might be able to get like 3 to pay out for like 6K, right? and you're taking a little more risk, but not much more risk for a lot more payout. So that's kind of the last thing I gotta calculate. Does it make sense to go for the 300 where you do have, you know, you're kind of less likely to totally blow out on that account because you got more draw. That is the positive. And you will keep a cushion in that account, which is the positive when you take the payout, which, you know, which is nice. The reset, you can reset cheaper. So I got to think about that, guys. It's really, for me, it's like none of the other accounts make sense. Like it's either 300 or 50, but let me know in the comments what you think. I guess you could do this with the 1500 because then you have pure one-to-one, but it just makes sense to me to go for the 50K and get that more draw, and you only have to make a tiny bit more profit. But using it this way on a per trade basis, comparing it to your actual live account, man, this is like kind of mind-boggling, eye-opening for me, because I've never really looked at it like this. Like, what if I just treat each account as a trade? Makes so much sense. Now I got to figure out the final thing, guys. We've kind of come this far in these 3 videos. Fucking awesome. Final thing I've got to figure out is which account to do. I guess that's going to kind of depend on your trade, your individual trades. I'm going to go over some of my trades, my recent trades from the live stream, the things. They're like, okay, what would have happened if I would have done the 300K account? How much contracts would I have had to put on? What would happen if I put on the, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 50K accounts? I got to think about that. When I have time, I'll do a video on that. But I'll leave you guys with this. Do the calculations for your account. Please like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know if I'm missing something. I probably am. Otherwise, I'm going to figure out how to get this going. Do it on the live stream. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.